look in the eyes of my brother without shedding a tear for my brother. I really wanna try for my brother.
Yo, what it motherfucking is, niggas and others.
All right.
Yo, welcome back to another
That's
episode.
true. It's 2020, so.
And you know, not everybody aligns with niggerdom. And welcome back to another episode of the InforMILLy Honest Podcast. We are four brothers, but we only got two today. I hope y'all enjoyed the last time we only had two. We coming back for another one. It's okay, right? We are four brothers, different mothers and different daddies. Last time I checked, that pride ourselves on having candid and challenging and hopefully hilarious and probably trailing off at different times on subjects that weren't the original conversation, rooted in being forthright, vulnerable, and most of all, honest. Yo, Brother Johnson.
Right.
How you feeling?
I'm sorry, you broke up. At least on my end.
Damn. Yo, how you feeling?
Okay, yeah. Feel pretty good. It's Friday. Off this weekend. Yeah, I'm just gonna chill. I don't got much to do, so I'm just gonna hang out, enjoy the weekend. How about you?
Not bad on this end. I just got back in the house. I'm in rehearsal right now. We got a show coming up on October 17th. This is probably going to come out after that. So hope y'all tuned in. The company I dance for, Deeply Rooted Dance Theater, is having our 25th anniversary, and we're celebrating that with a live streamed performance with limited capacity audience. And it's a fundraiser. So for $25, you can stream anywhere you are. And for anywhere between $150 to $1,000, you can be there in person and, you know, make it a tax write-off. And so just trying to raise money for this organization that I love and have blessedly been working for the last 15 years or something like that.
That's crazy.
I've been around since 2006, so it's 14 years. This is my 15th year technically. And so yeah, that's what's going on my end. That consumes my days because we're in rehearsal from 10 to 4, 6 hours on weekdays, 8 hours on the weekend, 6 days a week. But yeah. Anything you saw this week that you're like, I know it's debates going on. The internet is going wild over a fly that was stuck on Mike Pence's toupee.
That's funny.
Yeah. Anything that you latched on to this week?
Latched on to. I mean, honestly, I think the debate. I think I didn't even watch the debate this time. But I definitely saw all the memes that came out immediately.
Yeah.
But I mean, honestly, that consumed definitely the midweek pretty good. But I don't really got nothing this week. Nothing crazy. It's been very, very slow.
Yeah, I can't really say too much different on my end. Like I said, I go to work and I come home and take my ass to bed or soap. So first subject of the day. We were I would say, and it could vary because we all were kind of in different worlds even in high school, but as we were all close. You played sports, I gave up sports, and but I would say that, in my humble opinion, at least back in the day, we were trendsetters. We were quiet trendsetters because we didn't care about actually setting the trend. We just, what's the old phrase? We moved to the beat of our own drum. Right.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't necessarily cool. It wasn't vocally cool to be different from the crowd. And oftentimes people who are inside of that category, especially inside of the high school environment or the school environment, are often referred to as nerds. And we saw immediately after we got to high school with the rise of like Kanye West and
NERD.
NERD, Farnsworth Bentley, like there are these cats that like nerdy culture became cool immediately once we became adults. And so firstly I want to ask I want to pose the question that you put up is, what is your take on the term nerd before we unpack it, etc.? What's your perspective on what nerddom is or what it means to be a nerd?
So I think the word nerd definitely has a origin, and the earliest that of its history, the earliest that I know of would probably be like the Star Trek era, not Star Trek, Star Wars
Star
era.
Wars.
But I guess that was around the same time.
When did the first Star Trek come
but
out?
I meant to say Star Wars. I don't know, but it had to be 70s or 80s though. Maybe 80s.
I'm like the first,
probably not 70s.
Star
Definitely not
War
70s.
was,
Actually, probably 80s.
Like the first Star Wars was what?
I think that was in the 70s.
78,
73 or something.
Okay, ooh, I was way off. Okay, but continue.
So that's my earliest knowledge of that nerdom. I know there's those people. Then you fast forward, then you have the gamers like the
66.
That's kind of in the same era too.
Oh, wow. 1966 was the first Star Trek, the original series episode.
Oh, I didn't realize it was that old.
I didn't either.
Well, yeah. I think that interest in sci-fi is really what sparked the movement of the traditional word nerd.
Okay.
Because it was scientific but action mixed. So. But anyway, so like the traditional sense of when I hear the word of what I think what we all used to think nerd was, so it was like people that are into games and sci-fi and are smart, in science, stuff like that. But I feel like, but as far as my take on the word nerd, I just feel like I think everyone is a nerd, just within their own world. Like,
like people nerd out.
To me,
all nerd out on whatever thing they're passionate about. Like what you're saying.
Yeah, and like I think the original nerds, I think I've said this before in a conversation. It was like I think nerds are actually some of the bravest, like the original nerd population. They're like the bravest people because they always did what they thought were cool, no matter what, and they would be the first people to do just they were like the first group of people, in my opinion, to just be about something and not care, even if it meant people laughed at them, made fun of them, sometimes showed violence towards them. It's right. Like they still was like, I don't care, I'm still gonna do this thing, and I think that's cool. But fast forward to today, I think everyone is a nerd, just like I said, in their own world. Like everyone has that one thing that no matter what, this is something I'm into. Like
So for me, I feel you on that. I think for as far as just nerd is concerned, because I have a big thought over here that I'm trying not to get into too soon. I think nerds are usually people who have extensive knowledge in a particular subject. So kind of what you were saying of like, everybody's a nerd because there's something that they just know an insurmountable amount of knowledge about.
Yeah, compared to the average
person. I can talk dance to a crazy extent. that no one's going to care about. I can
Mhm.
talk anime to a crazy extent that a particular kind of people are going to know. I'm sure the same way goes for you,
Mhm.
you with building shit, with cars, with planes. I'm sure you know way more plane knowledge than I will ever know.
Probably.
It doesn't necessarily, and the thing is that I don't know that necessarily makes you a nerd about it. It's just a thing that it was
Mm.
it was your occupation for a while to fix planes.
Yeah, I think that the nerd part comes into your love for it, because, like you said, I'm absolutely not passionate about airplanes, fixing planes. I never want to touch another airplane again unless I'm going on vacation. But I think the nerd part comes to not only knowing a lot about something, but but actually enjoying it. Because there's people that are knowledgeable about whatever job that they got themselves into. Like there's people that's working out at the steel mill that's been there for 30 years. I guarantee you they don't love their job, but they know it really well.
Yeah.
So I think that nerdism comes from the actual love of whatever that thing you're knowledgeable about. I think.
So you think in order to be a nerd, you got to care? It can't just be that you know.
I think so, yeah. Because okay, I'm comparing everything to like the traditional of what society thinks a nerd
Sure.
is.
Right. I know
So
we're
like
speaking colloquially right now.
yeah. So like I'm thinking of it like, so the guy that loves to, I don't know, the guy the guy that loves to, what's something that's nerdy
Uh,
in the traditional sense, play video games, I guess,
or I was gonna say chemistry of some sort, but
comic books.
or
Yeah, okay.
or even like what is it, robotics. That's a big one.
Yeah, that's a good one. So this person is into this. Like, he knows a lot. He or she knows a lot about it. So they're like, that's one thing, but maybe I forgot the pause. It's like
Sorry.
I know I was saying, like, you have to care about, you have to be passionate about the thing,
Mhm.
because like I fight the nerd person that's playing the video games. They're not doing it just because they're good at it. They're doing it because they're probably like the challenge and whatever else,
Mhm.
whatever other feeling you get from playing video games. But I think if you know a lot about something, I think you can just be a subject matter expert in that thing. But then again, I do kind of see why that would be nerdy too, though. Being an
And
expert at something that most people isn't.
so let me pose this. A minute ago, via social media, there was a Venn diagram of like the four things under this umbrella, and there was nerd,
Mhm.
geek, dork, and dweeb. And
Okay.
then like the Venn diagram would like intersect to like fuse the words of what you were, depending on what that is. And so I can't necessarily define all of them. I can give you my opinion on what I think they all mean, but I don't, look them up. If you're like, what's the difference? I think we can. I think if you set all four words in front of you, you could think of a person that kind of fits each thing, right? And so I think what's kind of the differentiation is, if when you just know shit, that puts you in that category of nerd. Like you have extensive knowledge toward this thing that can be useful inside of society, right?
Okay. Yeah.
But if you just know something about something that's a bit superfluous, like my anime knowledge is not going to fix world hunger or some shit. It's not going to really contribute to the world in that much useful thing besides me talking about it or having conversation. That makes me a geek
Mhm.
toward that thing.
Okay.
And so my care for it, it makes me geek out over it. But my wanting to just know for the fuck of knowing makes me nerd out about it. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I never even thought about it that way, because I always kind of put those words. Obviously, they're similar, but I always use them interchangeably. So it's like
Yeah.
they're the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
But now that you mentioned it, I kind of see. I see what you mean, though. Yeah. Yeah, like some guy that goes to college for some type of science, doesn't matter.
Mhm.
Like they're like, I'm not saying. Also, you can like something and be a nerd, but it's not necessarily required. So
Right.
like this person can be an astrophysics nerd and just be really good at it, and he wants to like change the world, but he's not like going to class like with the same energy you would going to see a movie necessarily. It's like,
Mhm.
oh no, I'm doing this to like try to better, and that's making him a nerd about it, not necessarily a geek. Because
Right.
geek, I mean, geek can be, I feel like whatever it is you're geeking out about can be important, but I feel like
But
it
it's not. It doesn't
doesn't.
have to be.
Yeah, like you said with the
Or
the
anime.
example you use, yeah, that with anime or
Mhm.
whatever somebody might be into,
Yeah.
photography. Like I call myself a photography nerd all the time, but I
Mhm.
guess technically it would be more like a photography geek based off
Of this differentiation
your
in the and it's so minuscule because you could be like, yeah, I'm geeking out over photography, or I like to nerd out about photography. Because the thing
Mhm,
about it is like, even though photography is not fixing lives, it is a form
mhm.
of art, and I do think you can nerd out over art.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, because there's technical
there's so much
knowledge in every art, like where it doesn't
correct.
matter, dance, music. There's technical, like this is technically wrong or this is
Yeah,
technically right. Even though it's art, you can still be wrong sometimes.
a lot of times.
Yeah, like
And so
that's
that kind of be the bigger thing, that they are interchangeable, but um there's like these nuances that kind of color each thing in a different way. In the same ways that
okay.
I with the other two terms on there of dork and dweeb, like I don't really consider myself much of a dweeb, but I am a dork. I am corny as fuck. I am clumsy as fuck. I have all those like dorky things that
Mhm.
I make corny jokes all the time. I say corny things all the time. As much as I am an asshole on the other end of the spectrum. So it's like I think everybody is some kind of mix of those four things. You remember old school like RPG games when you're building a character and you have like the attributes, and then it'll form some like crazy geometrical shape that'll say what your stats are, like your high strength, mid
Yeah,
defense,
yeah, I understand what you're
low
saying.
on magic. Like I think everybody kind of has that thing toward those four characteristics where there's you're like, oh, I don't geek out over many things, but I know a lot of shit.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense.
So yeah. I was just
Hmm.
uh it's just what my brain kind of does with that whole thing. Now, as far as what the tropes that surrounded geekdom, I think I think being not geekdom, nerddom. I think being a nerd or a geek or what have you, let's even just stay on the nerd. I think it built these tropes because of movies, and imagery is the strongest tool there is in creation. And so you're like, uh especially because we grew up with so many examples of like Urkel or Screech,
Oh
or
yeah.
like these are the nerds that like they're nerds and they're dorks and they're dweebs.
Hmm.
And so like they're clumsy, they have horrible fashion sense, they are easily laughed at more than they're laughed with.
Yep.
And so was there any time inside of our your younger years, my younger years, where you're like, I'm cool with standing on my own 2 feet and being knowledgeable and all of that, but you feel like things are being put on to your personality that aren't there because you're a little nerdy?
Um, crap. Let me see if I understand the question.
Sorry, I know
Um,
that was a lot. So like for
no,
me, go ahead. I'm sorry.
no. You got it. You got it for sure. You got it.
So like for me, I've always been tall and lanky and clumsy. That's just always
Okay.
kind of been the thing. Um, and you know, we let me not speak for you. I had plenty of examples of like bullying and all of that kind of shit that would happen because I didn't necessarily know how to wear my height. I didn't do the things that were expected of me as someone who's tall because I liked basketball, but I didn't really give a fuck about it.
Yeah.
I liked football, but I didn't block, so I didn't, get to play. And especially because nobody would throw me the fucking ball. So I was like, you're not gonna throw me the ball. Why am I blocking? We always running. I'm not on the line. So I know. Because technically I am on the line, I'm a fucking tight end. But shit like
points.
that. So at times, it didn't matter what I felt or, the kind of stuff that I was into because a lack of respect was being projected onto me because nerds are not to be respected according to the social climate of what we learned growing up.
Mm-hmm.
So did you ever feel any of that?
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Well,
Sorry,
to be
that
honest,
was a long road.
no, I ain't good. No, I'm gonna say no because like I feel like I wasn't really. I wouldn't even consider myself, or I don't even think I checked the box of the standard, like the nerd, because I like you said. I mean, I've been playing sports since I was 6, 7 years old, so I was always in the sports, which
Mm-hmm.
in the high school society, that's typically like the exact opposite of each other.
Top
Even
of
though
food.
you can be
Yeah.
both, yeah. Although like we learned that you can be a nerd and be an athlete.
Right.
So, but anyway, so I'm just to say no. I never really felt that. I feel like I feel like I didn't even consider myself nerd-ish until like high school, because I think most kids before high school, like when you're just in grade school, first through like 8th grade, I feel like most kids are just trying to fit in, so they're not even. Not all. There's definitely a rare case where the kid is legitimately just gonna be themselves, but for the most part, all the kids are gonna want the same cool shoes that's out at the time, or whatever the fads are in fashion. They're gonna want to do the thing and fit in.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, and I'm pretty sure I did that too. In grade school, in middle school, I wanted to wear the clothes that everybody else was wearing because that was the cool thing to do, like Mark Echo and Sean John and stuff like that.
Oh, what was
But
remember the Echo team on Madden 2002?
yeah,
That's all my brain does.
2001. But yeah,
Oh, 2001. Okay, that's all my brain does when I hear
yeah, that
Mark
was
Echo.
2001. Yeah, yeah. So like, but for me, I feel like I didn't even become a nerd, or I'm not even saying nerd, become nerd-ish until that's gonna be a Blackish spinoff.
for the
They got like
Sun.
3 spinoffs of that shit. Yeah, yep.
I've never really
That's
watched
funny.
Blackish because it bothers
Mhm.
me. I not. Let me be more correct. You know what? Finish your thought. This is going to be something we can veer off to later.
Okay. But so I didn't even feel nerd-ish, and that's to keep where I'm gonna have to use until like high school when I started just doing things that I wanted to do. Like, I just like I'm just gonna wear what I want to wear, and because like there was like a shift in what was cool to wear. And like I would say like 11th grade, people stopped wearing like the street fashion like Echo and
Right.
John John
And
Fat
FUBU
Farm, and people
and
started
Fat
wearing like
Farm. Yeah.
Hollister. And then people started wearing like Hollister and American Eagle, Aeropostale. But I feel like I started doing that like a year or two before it was actually a thing. And the funny thing is, I wasn't really trying to, because I started shopping at Old Navy just randomly. I just went in there. I was like, this stuff is actually kind of cool, and then I started wearing stuff. And as far as like how like the fitted shirt thing was like a thing for a while,
and polos
like
and fitted shirts. Yeah.
I started doing that. Yeah, I actually the first fitted shirt I ever wore, I wore on accident. It was It was a graphic T-shirt from Old Navy, and it shrunk. But I was like, I really like the shirt, so I'm wearing it anyway. So I wore it, and this had to be in 9th grade. I'm pretty sure this was in 9th grade, well before that was a thing. And I just started wearing it, and then of course people was laughing, but then people was like, I actually kind of like that on you. So it was like, so I just kept dressing that way.
This is why I made the earlier point of we were trendsetters quietly because it wasn't intentional.
Yeah, exactly. It was just like, it's cool, so we're gonna do it. That's like
Right.
that's why I was saying. I'm not calling myself brave or anything, but that's why I was saying. I think the societal definition of nerd, I think they should include bravery, because they're doing what they want to do no matter what, no matter how hard people laugh at them, no matter if people are even inflicting violence on them for being a nerd. They still do what they want. And that's like,
well, here's
freedom.
the thing. I guess just because you're out of the whatever the status quo of that environment is, I don't necessarily know that makes you a nerd specifically. In that, excuse me, in that grouping. Because there's the outcasts, there's the we went to an all-black school, so we didn't really have goths. We
did.
But they were all together, like the nerds, the outcasts, and the goths. Like they were all one group. I remember them.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, they were the same people.
Yeah, they were the same group. they were all in the same group. I'm still attracted to a number of them today. So it's just funny because our whole school had less than 1,000 kids. So it wasn't like, we just had it wasn't like there were these huge communities of these groups. The group was 8 people. They were all in the same. They were all in the same group. They were all the same grade. And then when that grade left, the underclassmen just made it again. Like there was no like formal induction.
It's just a new
group. They kind of came into it, and so it wasn't like necessarily we had that. I had a point. I forgot what it was. I want to go back to bringing up these sitcoms, and we talked about sitcoms and the influence that they had. I am not a fan of Blackish. I will go on record saying that. I have nothing against them. I'm just not a fan, and it's because I don't think enough Black sitcoms exist to balance it. And I'm sure I may have made this point before on this podcast, or maybe it was in the lost episodes.
Yeah, I think it was
fantastic. That means that y'all ain't heard this before. We come from an era where there were so many Black sitcoms. You had so many different perspectives and all of that. And I want to believe that as a fan of sitcoms, or any kind of sitcom or dramedy, if it's based inside of a particular culture, I want more than one perspective. I love Rami. I think Rami is a brilliant written show. I want another Muslim-based show to contrast it. Same thing with like a Fresh Off the Boat. At one point it was, George Lopez and all of that. It's the thing. It's the thing of I have really enjoyed getting these shows that come from different perspectives of cultures that I'm just not familiar with, fully anyway. I think Rami is a brilliant show. I would love another show to contrast it with that comes from a different perspective. I think I never really watched Fresh Off the Boat, but I know it's popular. I love Ali Wong.
Yeah, it's funny.
And I enjoy what's the dude, the male lead?
I don't know his name, but yeah, I love that dude, man.
Yeah,
I don't know his name, but
I think he's brilliant. I think they're that movie they made, Always Be My Maybe, brilliant movie, hilarious. I would love more shows that are coming from North Asian perspectives to contrast it, or other Asian perspectives, by all means. And so I, as a lover of sitcoms, I don't like how Blackish and the Blackish spinoffs kind of get to be the only Black perspective.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's just not a lot of sitcoms that now that could be for a couple reasons. Like, it's really hard to have a popular or successful sitcom these days. Like, most
I
of them
agree.
always get canceled.
Yeah.
Cause I know there was one on Netflix with Marlon Wayans on it. I forgot what it was called, but
Marlon.
I tried to watch it, but
So yeah, the sitcom's called Marlon.
Yeah, so for me, I tried to watch it and I wanted to like it so much, but I couldn't get into it. But
I'm sorry, I hate to cut you off.
like, yeah.
Marlon is the least funny of the Wayans.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Why does he keep pursuing comedy? Because go ahead. I'm sorry.
I think he believes, and I'm not saying he's not funny, but I think he believes he's funnier than he is. I think he sees his family members like, I'm like this, like, we're all the same. But
and here's the thing: I'm not saying he's not funny.
Yeah,
he's the least funny of them.
Yeah,
and I'm not even counting Sean, to be completely honest. But it is a thing of what's crazy to me is Marlon's actually a brilliant dramatic actor.
Mm-hmm.
But he won't pursue dramatic acting for reasons that are completely beyond me.
He wants to be, like his family members, instead of just creating his own. He could legitimately create his own lane.
He could. Did you see?
Nobody would even.
Did you see his Richard Pryor audition?
No, I didn't see it.
I'm gonna send it to you. We can put the link in. We can put the link in the description. Somebody, I don't know if it was him or not. I don't know if you know about the Richard Pryor document, not documentary, biopic that was supposed to come out.
Yeah.
That somehow Mike Epps booked. Still really baffled about that shit.
Yeah. I think, I mean, he looks more like him, but I can't. I always just have to see it, I guess. But
because I've never considered Mike Epps a great actor, so that's what's baffling me about it.
Yeah.
But Marlon's audition tape came out, and it was really good. My memories of it were really, really good. And the element of the sitcom for Marlon that was actually compelling was, all sitcoms have that formula of hijinks, occasional witty retorts of some argument with a dark-skinned woman, and which, dude, you're better than that, I hoped. And then him making a stupid decision throughout the entire, for 3/4 of the episode, to get dramatic in the end for the resolution. Every time it would get to the resolution part of the episode, and this is just season 1, season 2, not so much, but season 1, the episode got good all of a sudden because he would do the part of acting that he's good at.
Okay. Yeah. That, honestly though, that formula kind of reminded me of the Carmichael Show, because obviously it was funny, but like you said, there's always that main issue of the episode, like, what's the main idea of this episode? But no, it's a shame that show got canceled though.
It didn't.
I don't know if it got canceled.
He just left.
Yeah, I was gonna say
because I loved Carmichael Show.
Me too.
It was
great.
Yeah, it was great. It was the one time. No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna say I caught on to it late. I think it had already done like 3 seasons, or the 3 seasons maybe.
Was it 3? I thought it was only 2.
Okay, it might have been 2 then. But yeah,
I can't fully remember.
Yeah, I forgot, but I know I saw all of them. I forgot how many it was, but yeah, it was like the perfect type of humor, especially for that time of my life. I don't know why, but for whatever reason, I just really enjoyed it at that time for some reason. But
it's a different kind of dry humor, and I know we all as I know how much you love The Office. Like dry humor is such a particular kind of humor.
Yeah.
Gerard Carmichael is a natural born contrarian. That's his whole shtick.
Yep.
Is being a contrarian. The thing I loved the most about it was he's such a contrarian. Every character on that show I know in real life. That's one of the first times I was like, I actually know all of these people.
That's funny. No, they definitely I definitely did like the characters, and how they all had their own views, and but like it's just like for me that show is like every episode caused the conversation. Like if I'm watching with Kirsten or something, then we would talk about the issue they were talking about, like, and it was funny. So you had both of those, you know. Yeah. Hopefully something else like that comes out.
I just want to say Loretta Devine as a caricature of herself, amazing.
Yeah. I thought I was the only one that thought that. It's like, wait a minute.
No, it's literally because I can't imagine that character without that voice. Now that I know it exists, her voice is perfect for that because it's so. Every time she talks, she's like a female Dr. King. Like it just always sounds like something prolific is coming out of her mouth, and you're like that. It was such a benign statement.
Yeah.
But yeah, I to get back to the original thing of, I just want other perspectives to see, not to put Carmichael show against Blackish, but when both of them existed, I was fine. But now to only have the perspective of hardworking but well-off suburban black families trying to survive being black in the suburbs, I'm like, okay, that's a thing. That is a way of life for a lot of people to know, is being black and trying to navigate your blackness in an extra white world.
Yeah.
But what about the rest? There's so many other perspectives to talk about.
Yeah. Now I will say this too, because like for me, I definitely see your point. And I actually do like the show. I haven't seen the recent season, but I haven't watched any of the spinoffs, but maybe I forgot who's the guy to make that Baron
the creator,
Kenya Barris.
Yeah.
So like maybe he got the same criticism that that you're saying. Maybe that's where the spinoffs came from, because even then though, it's still obviously it still comes from Black. So even like Zoe going off to college and creating that show, it's still from the well-off family, the girl from the well-off family surviving, so it's still based in that. So I don't know.
To some degree, was funny enough, I did watch Grownish. I don't even remember why I watched it, to be completely honest. I think I usually give all of them a chance. And if you can hold me for longer than an episode, then I'll stick with it. Even though majority of Grownish, I just sat there in anger and fury as to how stupid everybody on this fucking show is. And I'm like, they're supposed to be stupid because they're kids in college. And I'm like, but everything about this is stupid.
Yeah. I've never seen it before.
But it was almost like I watched it as a social experiment. It's like when I watch Insecure, I hate everybody on Insecure, but I enjoy the show. Because the whole time I'm just like, this is a 4-minute conversation. Y'all are making you're making an episodic series, sure, because that's how you get in your bag. But this is a 4-minute conversation that you're avoiding because all of you lack communication skills.
Yeah, I've never seen that show either, actually. But I mean, I've heard a lot about it, obviously, but I don't know. I already watched so many shows, so.
Yeah, you watch a lot. You watch way more things than I do, which is funny enough.
Yeah. Yeah. I started, speaking of that, and we can get back on the topic, but
go ahead.
I just started watching what's it called? The British Baking.
Great British Bake Off.
Yeah, that's it. always mess the title
or
up.
something
I
like
just
that.
started watching that. Yeah, I started
Mhm.
watching that purely like. Well, actually, there was a reason. I just watched this. It was like a barbecuing show, whatever.
Oh yeah.
These
A barbecue showdown or something like that.
Yeah, the American barbecue something. So I watched that because I was actually interested in it, and then plus I have a cousin that's really, he actually is a pit master down in Austin, Texas, whatever.
Dope.
So I was
Great
just
British
curious, like,
Baking
okay,
Show. That's what that is. Sorry, I
okay,
was trying to get the title right.
oh no. So and I watched that and really enjoyed it. Like, man, I didn't even really think I would like a cooking show. So I saw the baking show pop up. Like, let me watch this. But I actually ended up watching the current season first episode, which doesn't
Mhm.
matter because it's but I didn't realize that the episodes come out weekly. So I was looking for the next one. I was like, man, but it didn't exist yet. So I was
Right.
like, well, screw it. I'm gonna just go back to the first season and start there.
Mhm.
So I started watching that like 2 weeks ago, and I'm just hooked on it. It's like I didn't even know there was that much to bake. Like, I was like, I mean, there's cakes,
Yeah.
there's pies. What else? I mean, what else is there? But
Like
it's like stuff that you've never heard of. It's so interesting.
when you talk when you now you speak my language because I don't watch enough like episodic series, and I say enough relatively. I watch a lot of cooking competitions.
Okay.
Hell's I support way too many of Gordon Ramsay's programming because I find him hilarious.
No, he's funny. I've seen clip, obviously on Facebook and YouTube.
Only his cooking shows though. I could care less about Hotel Hell, Kitchen Nightmares, and all of that. But like Hell's Kitchen and MasterChef, great shows. And I really love Chef's Table. Chef's Table is
I actually heard that was really good. I'm probably gonna check that out after this baking show.
because and the thing about it is Chef's Table is one of those things where it's not really about the food. They use the food as the platform to talk about the chefs and their lives and what led them to being whatever top tier chef that they are. And they it's funny you brought up the barbecue one because that got suggested to me. I haven't watched it yet because they just did a season on barbecue.
Okay.
And they did
That's
these
cool.
it's 4 episodes in it, and it's just such a brilliantly done show. It's shot immaculately, and I'm pretty sure I've watched most of the episodes of all of Chef's Table. I had a point, don't remember what it was. I haven't watched Great British Baking Show only because I've heard that it's just really nice. Like everybody's just so kind to each other, and for whatever.
That's true. Yeah. So sometimes I'll laugh at how British it is. Like that's the most British thing to say. Like when they say like scrumptious, obviously there's nothing more British than the word scrumptious. And then to actually use it in the right, like this, when you're eating an amazing cake, it's the perfect time to use that word.
It's the first time you use that word.
And of course, the old white British lady, of course, would use that word.
but it is one of those things of I remember what I was gonna say now. Baking is something I have the highest respect for, and it's as much as I like to cook, I have no interest in baking because it's such a sweet science.
Yeah, it is because you can't see anything. You just gotta like trust the temperature that you put it in. Like it's like because like when you're cooking on a skillet, you're looking at it cook. Like okay,
right.
You can see the textures change and it gets soft or hard depending on what you're cooking. You can see and feel all that. But baking is like you do all the stuff, you throw it in the oven, and hope. I mean, you can look in there, of course, but you can't touch it and feel like is it done yet? So
because it's something you can do once it's cooking. All your stuff all of your science has to be correct before you put it in the oven. Because once you put it in there, there's nothing you can do.
Yeah.
And so like, yeah, I enjoy cooking like more savory, etc. Just because I'm like, yo, if something's going wrong in the moment, I can adjust. It's just more room for error. But I respect the fuck out of baking.
Yeah, but speaking of this, like before we change, like
go ahead.
That's one thing I never even thought about because I was watching that show expecting to see a bunch of desserts, but there's been stuff that they had to make that was actually like a savory dish. So like, I wasn't even expecting to see that. So that just kind of added to it. Like, I just because for me, when I think baking, I think cake, pies, cupcakes, stuff like that. But
Right.
but you can bake other things too. I just didn't think it would be on that show. So these
That's
people got
real.
to know what they're doing, not just with the desserts, but like actual entrees and stuff.
Meats
Like
and
so, like
meats and vegetables
yeah,
and
so
all
like so they really know their stuff. And even though they're all like, I don't think any of them are professionals, but
that.
that just makes it that much more impressive because these are just hobbyists that like can literally do this 5-star restaurant quality stuff in their
Mhm.
apartment. It's like what? It's crazy.
It is. It is. I always wonder inside because as much as I enjoy cooking, I know I'd never be stupid enough to actually like go on a show because
uh,
because I don't learn what is it after what literally after watching was it like 18 seasons of Hell's Kitchen,
mhm.
the most I've really like latched on to is how to relatively make a sauce, how to butter base some meat so it doesn't so it stays moist. But like it's like I haven't like learned, and granted
It's
they're not
so
showing like
much.
they're not showing like whole processes, and I
Yeah,
hate cooking shows.
yeah,
Cooking
like
shows are
Rachel
the
Ray.
worst. Yeah, Rachel
Yeah,
Ray and respect to them. What's his
yeah.
name? Uh, um, I forgot his name, but in all of them,
But
Emerald
that
Lagasse.
Kirsten's gonna laugh when she hears that part.
Say what?
I said Kirsten, she's gonna laugh when she hears that part. So I'm gonna tell the so I'm gonna tell the short story.
Sure.
Um, maybe back in 2012 ish, around that time frame, back when I was living in South Carolina, we made a trip to Virginia to see uh her aunt and her aunt's daughter, and we just had Thanksgiving with them. And so we're in the kitchen, and someone makes a reference to him, and they laugh, and I'm like, I don't know who that is. And they're like, what? You don't know who Emerald is? And then I guess he has a catchphrase, like, is it boom or bam?
Bam.
Okay. Yes. I still don't know who he is. So, so yeah, so they made the reference. I'm like, all right, I don't get it.
Uh-huh.
So ever since then, Kirsten, she probably brings this up on a yearly basis, maybe several times within a year that I don't know who Emerald is. Like I can be like, oh, like you have seen this movie? And she's like, oh, well, you don't know who Emerald Ragassi, whatever his name is. Like you don't know who that is. Like, so what? Like I feel like me not knowing who some cook dude isn't that crazy.
Only because he like before there was ever a I can't remember anybody's name right now. Who's the dude from Drivers, Diners, and Dives with the with
Guy
the
for
Guy
guy.
Fieri, Guy
Yeah.
Fieri. Before
Okay.
him or any of that, like Emerald was the dude. Now,
Oh,
granted,
okay.
growing up, who I would always mix up Emerald Lagasse and Wolfgang Puck. Granted, they have nothing to do with each other. They don't
No,
look
I'm about to
anything
say.
alike. But I kept mixing them up all the time back in the day. And I probably say Emerald was like one of the few cooking shows I did watch. I didn't learn anything. I just would, you watch it so you can watch him, like, all right, we're going, bam, like you just watch it for that moment. But there was
Yeah.
nothing beyond that. I hate cooking shows with a passion. I just can't.
Yeah.
It's I don't like you talking. It's something about the way they talk to us as audience members that I just don't like it. All right,
Yeah.
now you want to square your Brussels sprouts appropriately.
Yeah.
So this is make sure they cook nice and evenly. I'm like, yo, stop talking to me like I'm 3.
They
Like,
make
yo,
it sound. I feel like they make it sound easier than what it actually is. Like anybody's gonna actually watch this and like I'm make it perfectly just from some 20-minute presentation. If that.
I can respect that perspective only because I'm like you don't want to sound like what you're trying to convince people to do is intimidating, because
That's
the
true.
reason why they're watching the show is because they want to believe that they can do that.
Yeah. I wonder how many people actually make stuff that they see on cooking shows. I wonder what that percentage
I would
is.
argue less than like 10%.
Yeah.
Of people who Now they'll go and buy that cooking book or that cookbook, and they'll be like, "Oh, I remember this episode when they did that," or something like that. But I doubt any of them are like, "Oh yeah, I got the cookbook to sit down with Chrissy Teigen and cook with Chrissy today." Like no one's doing that.
Yeah.
And so yeah, also baffling to me how Chrissy Teigen has a cooking show, but that's just neither here nor there. If you could have a TV show based on any nerd thing, what would it be? Like the thing that you feel nerdy. What do you feel nerdy about enough, or geeked out about enough? Either one that you're like, I could have a show for this.
There's two things, and maybe it wouldn't be like a legitimate like show. Maybe it might be like a YouTube series or something. I don't know. But one would be okay. So you know how there's America's Next Top Model. It would be that, but from the photographer's view. So you have these different photographers, and I've thought of this before. Is why it's like so fresh. But you would have all of these different photographers, you know, that have different interests and have different styles, of course. And you would give them the concept of the shoot, and they would give you the same model, so that way you can't be like, you know, that model is better than this model, or maybe they will. You know what? No, they would be different models because that model would be tired after modeling for hours.
Right.
So and part of being a photographer is you being able to connect with the person you're shooting. So you got to connect with the person no matter who they give you. So anyway, in every week, obviously they vote somebody off, and you know, until they get to the final. So always that would be one. And this other one I feel like would be a show that you would see on like Discovery, but like 20 years ago. It would be like so okay, I'm trying to think what I'm trying to say. So it used to be this show that I'm mixing thoughts. So there's this show that came out a long time ago. I forgot what it was called, but there's this show where these people had to go, like they let these teams of people go into the junkyard, and they had to collect a bunch of stuff and build. I think they had to build like a robot, and they have to like fight each other or something.
Yeah,
I might be mixing two different shows. I think I'm mixing two different shows together. I know there was like the robot war show. They had robots. There was that, but then there was this other show where they actually had to build something, and maybe it wasn't fight each other, but they had to. Each team was given a challenge, and they had to go. Like say it was like a cannon. Each team had to go to this junkyard and find parts and build a cannon. Who's ever worked more efficiently won. I think it was something like that. But my show would be kind of based on something like that. But I still know in what way. But it would be like you have to go into this junkyard and build something and compete with these other builders. Something like that. Because I recently being like a year ago, I started making these post-apocalyptic and I think I mentioned this on a previous episode, but I started making these post-apocalyptic weapons, whatever.
Right.
Which originally I was doing it for a photo shoot that I had planned, which I never actually did, but I still have the stuff that I made. I'm like, this stuff is actually pretty cool. So now I collect stuff from work. Obviously, since I work at a dealership, so all the service, all the old car parts, like I've taken some parts that I feel like I can use for some future thing. So I think that would be cool. I have these people that can make stuff just out of just random things. I don't know what they would be making, but just
pretty
each
much
week
like
would be a different challenge.
So pretty much like Chopped, but for woodworkers and engineers. Wood and metal workers. Huh?
What's Chopped?
So Chopped is a don't watch cooking shows. So like I said, I watch way too many cooking competition shows.
I've heard of it, but I don't know what it. So I'm guessing based on what I said, I have an idea what it is, but just for the sake of the production.
So on Chopped, they bring in 4 professional chefs, and they give them a basket of usually 4 random items, and there's 3 rounds: appetizer, an entree, and a dessert. And they gotta make something for that part of the meal using all those ingredients. And so they'll be like, this is the appetizer round. We're giving you sourdough bread, ancient grain peanut butter, olives, and pig liver. figure it out.
Yeah. Man, that sounds cool, actually.
It's a fun show.
So
Yeah.
that actually sounds like I like stuff like that when like they make the people like you have to think on your feet, you have to improvise. Like I like stuff like that. So like and I like to build things. So it would be like you know take go into this junkyard and you have to both teams have to build or all 8 people. I want it to be like an individual effort. So like all you have to build a post-apocalyptic weapon. Let's say that, but it can't be the typical thing that you always see in movies, like a baseball bat with barbed wire wrapped around it, or the standard things that you always see. It can't be any of that, and they get
So,
judged on craftsmanship, creativity, the whole thing.
Yo, so pretty much you're talking about having damn near Chopped and Forged in Fire kind of fused into one show.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And so
essentially,
this is a hell of a show, and I want hey patent pending, or trademark pending. Like anybody try to steal this fucking idea, we're not SoundCloud rappers. You can't take beats and then not give us credit. So
right.
Essentially, the show would be, the judges are. I'm assuming we can talk about who can be not who specifically, but what the judges' criteria would be, because we definitely got to have a Doug Marcaida, right? We got to have somebody to test this shit. Have somebody who works in special effects who would say like that, and maybe even like a sci-fi writer to say like, okay, this is something that could actually conceptually work, right?
Yeah.
And then now, what kind of like what kind of materials are you providing the contestants? Are you providing them like forges and tools?
I see what you're saying.
As far as like to create their weapons.
I see what you're saying. That's the good. I don't know. That would just have to be something you thought out. But I think it'd be cool. Like if you like, you could use whatever you would use at home. I guess like it would be like the average set of tools that the average builder has. So I feel like a forge could be cool because you would see some cool things come out of that. So I don't know. That'd be interesting though.
This is literally what my whole job is, besides like creating dance, is taking people's ideas and helping them to unpack it. And so because I'm with you. I'm just here to ask questions so that you can be like, oh, okay, well, I'll just take this little piece over here. How about this? Besides dance, that's like actually the thing I enjoy doing. I don't know if that makes you like a consultant or some shit. But that's a brilliant idea for a show, man. I would watch the fuck out of that personally.
Me too.
One, just because I love weapons and I love creativity toward weapons.
Me too. Yeah.
And so go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I've always thought post-apocalyptic, not even just weapons, but just items like the clothing. Even we don't really know what the clothing looks like, but the I guess the styles that have come from that, like when you watch movies like Mad Max or the one with Denzel Washington in it, Eli, the Book of Eli. Not didn't necessarily love the movie, but I really did love the cinematography of it and just the all of that was so super cool to me. Can
I tell you how angry I was when they pointed out that the book that he had been carrying the whole time was the Bible? Oh God, the anger and fury that I felt.
That's hilarious.
But and the thing is, post-apocalyptic is great, and you could do season by season changing the theme. You could be like, hey,
exactly.
First season is post-apocalyptic. Second season is completely primitive or Neanderthal-ish. You can do like you can have you can sell this to the History Channel and be like, yo, it's a little plagiarizing on historical weapons, but you could be like, we're doing purely Grecian purely Egyptian. Like people got to do their research so they know what kind of weapon that they're gonna come in to create, as opposed to you kind of giving it to them. Be like, hey, do you want to audition for our, Sudanese season, our Sudanese episode? So go research some Sudanese weapons, and you got to be able to create it with the materials that we give you.
Yeah.
I don't know. Just my mind kind of reels.
For sure.
Trying to think if I could make a show that that I can nerd out on. Do I even have any ideas on this? I personally, I don't know that I necessarily have this. I would love, and even though I can't draw for shit, I love seeing new kind of animations and characters and different kind of animation styles and whatnot. Mm-hmm. And I think, I don't know. I want this kind of competition show toward, like for animators, where everybody gets the same storyline. So everybody gets like the script of an episode, and they get a week, and they got to come back with a fully animated episode in that week, and then they play all like 3 or 4 episodes next to each other, and then you get critiqued on, like, the visual aspects that were added to it, the creativity of how the characters are drawn, etc. Like I personally, because I love animation.
Yeah, I think that'd be cool.
Yeah, I don't think animators get enough.
Yeah, typically people in that visual art world, there's typically not really shows that exist. The closest thing I've seen, there was a show on Netflix that I liked. I don't know what it's called. It might have been called Blown, or I'll look it up. But it was a competition show, but the competitors, it was about blown glass, the art of blown glass, and it was just exactly what it sounds like. Every challenge they were given a certain type of challenge, and the artists would have to create their pieces, and they were judged on them. And obviously, every episode, one person was ordered off until the final.
Yeah.
But I've always, ever since I've heard of blown glass, which was at back in high school, whatever. We actually took a field trip there. There's a museum in Chicago where it's blown glass all around. The whole museum is blown glass infused with like plants and like, I'll just say plants.
I need to look this up.
Yeah, and they have these big sculptures and stuff. So that's when I first heard of it.
Blown Away is what it's called.
Blown Away. Yeah, and so that's the closest thing I've seen to a show like that, where like a visual art. Simply you see the singing competitions, obviously the cooking ones, the dance ones. Like Dance with the Stars.
I hate every dance show, to be completely honest. That's not true.
So you think
I
you
don't
dance?
care for them now. So You Think You Dance is the worst. And granted, when it first started, it was a thing, and I used to enjoy it back then. By the time it got to like season 3, I was like, yo, it's been like a couple thousand dancers that have come through this show. How does everybody dance the same fucking way? There's no diversity in this. And so that. But as you were saying, I'm sorry.
So it's like you don't really see shows for visual stuff, like people that paint or sculpt, or so that would be cool to see, or photography. You obviously have America's Next Top Model,
but that's more about the model, as you were saying.
So it'd be cool to see a show, and it doesn't even have to be a grand thing. It can be like a YouTube series. I just like to see something like that. That'd be cool.
Yeah, I completely support that, and I always want just those kind of niche things. I typically enjoy niche shows where there's plenty of shit that I don't really give a fuck about, in which I know a lot of people feel that way toward dance, really, for that matter. Some of that is social programming. Get over yourselves. Uh, but yeah, I would love those kind of more direct niche shows. Like I really enjoy shows with voice actors, voice coaches, accent coaches, and singing coaches that that'll kind of like give you perspective on some well-received live performance of someone and all that. They're like, oh, they close their throat here and that's how they got that sound. I'm like, oh, I didn't know that thing because I don't know anything about singing. I don't know the science of singing. And so
Exactly.
that's fascinating to me.
Yeah. And really, I mean, what's so interesting is you could take this whole second half of this conversation and it still revolves around the idea of saying like everyone's a nerd about something.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because when you look at because for me, the idea that I saw when I saw the barbecue shows, like I knew that there were people that were experts at barbecuing,
Right.
but it really is a science. Like,
Yes.
different meats and different temperatures and thicknesses, and there's like or putting on this seasoning at this time because it's gonna break down the molecules of it's like crazy stuff like that. It's like that's why I have so much respect. And then the baker, and then making the same point for like the people that bake. It's like there's one thing that you be able to know how to bake a cake or a pie, but then you know how to bake all of these different pastries and parcels and whatever other terms there are
Mm-hmm.
from different, and they do stuff from different cultures from different parts of the world, and it's like, but they know how to do all of that stuff, and
Right.
like you dedicated like so many hours to learning that stuff. It's like it's just impressive to me.
Yo, last thing, because you point that out, and we can wrap up. There's an anime called Food Wars that literally does this thing, and it's a hilariously formulaic anime that like every episode someone's gonna cook something, the judges are gonna eat it, and then their clothes are gonna explode and they're gonna have an orgasm, and like that's literally every episode. But the way that they describe what they're eating and what it took to cook that dish that's making them have this orgasmic response is hilariously specific. Where they're like, they're like, oh my goodness, how did you get the risotto to stay so tender and so firm at the same time? And they're like, oh, actually, by heating it up with the egg, it kept the Maillard reaction to only 275. And you're like, this, why you? It's like, oh, but there's another flavor in here. There's a slight bitterness. And it's like, oh yes, I added mirin into the soy sauce, and that's what like.
Yeah, it's like it's so impressive to watch these people like do this stuff. Or and even the people that judge, that like the judges for the baking show, I guess they're like two famous cooks or chefs or whatever.
Yeah.
And like they'll taste something like and like to go back to that point where you said like someone said that it's too nice. The judges are definitely nice, but they'll definitely tell you when it sucks. Now they won't be like, this sucks. Like, I don't like this. It is very blunt, very British, like James. But somebody will get it. Anyway, so like there's like crap. That's what I was saying.
You're talking about how blunt it is when they don't like whatever is good for them.
Yeah, so like, oh no, I know what I'm saying. Like, so like the judges, even they're even expert at tasting the stuff because they can be like, oh, you put too much nutmeg, or you put it's so like their taste buds are on a different level than like the average person. They can taste even if you put like a quarter of a teaspoon of ingredient, like, yeah, you put too much in there. Like next time do 3 less granules of seasoning.
Yeah, the way and it's always that kind of like dual thing where clearly if you're in the food industry, you're supposed to have a like high class palate and all of that. Yeah. Which is even crazier about this cat in Chicago. His name is Art. It's gonna bother me. I know it's right there. He has an episode of Chef's Table, but dope ass chef who's like really innovative in the culinary world, who's like creating complete science experiments with his food. Where like one of your dishes is a literal fucking balloon. And but what was it? He lost his sense of taste for 2 years. And so he was cooking purely based on food knowledge.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. That's interesting too, because that's going back to this baking show. There's been people on there that will cook something, but they never tried it though. But they were presented like, here you go. Like, what? Like, that's just like, you have to just know what you're doing. Like, or like there's been one challenge where like this girl or this lady was like, they had to bake some type of cake or whatever, and she was like, I hate cake. Like, you're a baker but you don't like cake. But she killed it though. Like, she made the cake and killed it, even though she don't even like cake. It's like,
yo, I've known hairdressers that I know. What was it, back when I used to have my braids, my cornrows for the other folks. The lady who would do my hair, she said her best friend was a hairdresser who had a fear of hair growing up.
That's crazy.
And you're like,
that's a weird fear.
Yeah. Grant Axe is his name. Season 2, episode 1. I don't know how to say his actual last name. It's ACHATZ. So I'm just gonna say Axe. But yeah. It's season 2, episode 1 of Chef's Table. Dude is crazy that he completely lost his sense of taste, and couldn't actually know what his food tasted like for like a good 2-3 years, and eventually got it back. But
that's good.
Grew a successful career just cooking based purely on his food knowledge of what would pair well with how stuff was supposed to taste. Probably using other people to go like, what is the bitterness? What's the sourness? What are you catching from this? And then being able to pair with other food based on that. Yeah. Just genius people in regards to this particular sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so this was a very round conversation on nerddom.
Yeah, I agree.
But hey, unlike every Lil Wayne song, we stayed on topic. So
that's hilarious.
Appreciate you, man. This was fun. Shout out to Aaron and Marco. I know y'all got life stuff going on, but we miss you. We love you. Shout out to you, the audience, for joining us for another episode of the InforMILLy podcast. We have been getting some emails. We did get your subjects, but we felt like the main ones that we got, not the main ones, but they're better addressed with everybody. So we're just gonna wait, And so we love you. We appreciate you. We are the InforMILLy podcast. Please write us at informedlyhonestpodcast@gmail.com. Follow IG at InforMILLy Honest, Facebook and InforMILLy Honest podcast.
Putting it somewhere different.
So there you go. Keep them guessing. And by all means, write us. Tell us how you feel. Follow our personal pages. We got Adam. What's your IG?
It's Internet Adam, but the I is the 1.
It's number 1.
So
right.
Internet_Adam.
And you can find Marcus. I think it's like Larry Marco 0. Aaron at Aaron Thomas. I'm pretty sure it just says his actual name.
Yeah.
And
Thomas 93.
Aaron Thomas 93. Yeah. And I don't even know what the 93 is because he was definitely born in 89.
Yeah, I was like, where 93 comes from?
And me at I_Floxanasa I_Floxanasa.
That's right. Can't forget that part.
Yeah. And so by all means, follow us, talk to us. We love you. We appreciate you, and join the conversation. The hashtag in there. All right. We are two brothers this episode having nerdy ass fucking conversations based in being forthright, vulnerable, and most of all, honest. Peace out.
Thanks for listening.
And stand to build with my brother. They plan to kill my own brother.